President Trump in the Oval Office today said there is, quote, an insurrection happening in certain areas of Los Angeles. And he said he's looking into whether he should invoke the 1807 Insurrection Act, which would grant him increasing powers to use the military on U.S. soil. For tonight's interview, we are joined by Elizabeth Goitein, Senior Director, Brennan Center for Justice at NYU Law. Thank you, Elizabeth, for being with us. Can you just back us up and help us better understand the Insurrection Act and what exactly it would allow the military to do?
Sure. The Insurrection Act is an exception to the Posse Comitatus Act, which is the law that generally prohibits federal armed forces from participating directly in core law enforcement functions, things like arrests, searches, or seizures. And the reason for the Posse Comitatus Act is that it is a vital protection for democracy and individual liberty. Because if a president can turn an army inward against the people, he can use that power to make himself a tyrant. But Congress has legislated exceptions to the Posse Comitatus Act. And the Insurrection Act is really the main one of these. It gives the president the authority to deploy federal forces to quell civil unrest or to enforce the law in a crisis. It was clearly intended only for emergency situations, but unfortunately it is written in broad and vague and archaic terms that provide very few clear constraints. That said, the Department of Justice has historically interpreted it in light of the Constitution and tradition to be much more narrow. And the Department of Justice previously has said that it is only appropriate to invoke the Insurrection Act in situations where either the state has requested assistance, if there's an insurrection happening in the state, where there's a federal court order that's being defied, or where state and local law enforcement have completely broken down, which basically means either they are so overwhelmed that they come to the federal government and ask for help, or, as we saw during the civil rights era, they're just sitting back and not doing anything to address the issue. In fact, they are part of the problem. And obviously, the situation in Los Angeles does not meet any of these criteria. And
so under what authority is the National Guard in California at the moment? It's not the Insurrection Act, but it is what, giving them the authority to just be there protecting federal buildings?
That's correct. The president is relying on one or two authorities, it's not quite clear from his memorandum, that are much more obscure, that presidents have not used in the way that he is using them. So this is sort of a novel legal theory that he's using. And it's legally quite problematic. One of the problems is that he is interpreting these authorities to give him many of the same powers that the Insurrection Act would give him. His administration has indicated that they believe that soldiers can conduct arrests under these authorities. So in some ways, he is trying to get the benefits of the Insurrection Act without maybe the political cost or political blowback of actually invoking it.
So we have about 15 seconds left. How could the Insurrection Act be tightened?
There should be checks put into place by the other political branches. Congress should be able to, should have to approve an invocation of the Insurrection Act after a certain period of time.
All right.
And in addition, judicial review should be available.